That pink bike had to be mine. This one is now going into my own collection. Reality TV is one thing that will definitely keep you hooked these days. And Storage Wars on A&E does it better than most shows. Since its start in 2010, it's had drama, treasure hunts, and stars that people will remember. But being famous costs money. Today, we're going to talk about what happened after the cameras stopped running. The Dodsons, Dan and Laura. Fans quickly became enamored with Dan and Laura Dodson, who are affectionately known as the power couple who lives on Storage Wars. They were a hit with viewers thanks to their classic high-energy presence and sometime unclear auctioneer talk. Their charm was well known, and people in the crowd sometimes tried to be like them. This is how they became the show's most famous pair. They were front and center from the very beginning of the show. Center. They were in the middle of every single bidding war for a storage box. For this reason, they planned out their part on the show by showing the world who they are through funny banter and smooth pace. People fell in love with them as a married couple because of how well they got along. On top of that, they added a touch of fun and friendliness to the auctions, which sometimes seemed very tense and competitive. Their aura put them on the map of Storage Wars, and they quickly became important to the general success of the show. For 14 years, the show ran. During that time, the Dodsons kept their job as the main auctioneers. They were very accurate. About over 1,000 sales, and many of them led to shocking discoveries or even heartbreaking losses for the bidders. Through it all, their fans loved them deeply and depended on their charm and dependability a lot. Not even realizing it, they had moved slowly but had turned into the show's heart. Dan and Laura Dodson were always at the top of the list, even when the attention moved to other treasure hunters and cast members. They were also always the same, which closed the gap between the network and the buyers. The Dodsons didn't slow down even after A&E had to take a break from the show because of money problems. Their love for auctioneering grew even stronger, so they didn't leave the business. They kept auctioning off island lockers to people who wanted to get lucky and find hidden wealth. They kept holding live bids for storage lockers all over California, which helped more people get what they really wanted. Fans of Storage Wars could keep living in the excitement of the show thanks to their constant work. Where are they now? Dan and Laura have a successful business called American Auctioneers. It is a private auctioneering company that holds public sales all over California. There were jobs that went beyond TV cameras. They are very popular in the sale world because of how good they are at what they do. They also run sales for storage. Net, which runs bids for storage space in the U.S. and Canada. I'm Mark Balelo. Mark Balelo was the best at Storage Wars. People thought he was one of the most interesting people to ever appear on Storage Wars. His name was Rico Suave. He wasn't like other people who look for deals. He always wore well-tailored suits and a great sense of style. He also moved with the confidence of someone who really thought he could turn trash into gold. People liked him because he was always on the go, and he also had a way of changing a dirty storage unit into a pile of cash. The whole show became less predictable because of him. Mark would always jump right into bidding wars, even when other cast members might have been hesitant to make a choice. He would use style to drive up prices, which made every sale feel like a show. The crowd liked him, and he knew how to make deals. In general, he was great for reality TV. Yet Mark's life was very different from what was shown on TV when he wasn't being watched by cameras. Out of sight of the cameras, Mark could see his life falling apart right in front of him. Many people who knew him well said that he was getting more and more stressed out in his last few months. He had a lot of personal and legal troubles that were making it hard for him to keep up his charming personality that everyone loved. It's too bad that the news came out on February 11th, 2013. Mark Balelo, who was only 40 years old, was found dead. According to the coroner's report, he killed himself. This shocked a lot of people who thought he was a charming TV figure. The people who played Storage Wars were very sad when he died. It was hard for everyone who liked the show and worked on it to figure out what Mark's life had gone badly. They all had the same thought. Mark was a stylish, happy-go-lucky person, who they knew and loved. How did this tragedy become linked to him? Mark Balliol's work is still being remembered today. People remember him for how he changed the show. But most importantly, he tells everyone that behind every reality TV star is a real person who has problems in their own life. Shows that are showy don't take away certain problems, even if the fame makes those problems less noticeable. Leo was the president and CEO of Bolo Inc. before he died. He also ran an auction house called Bolo Auction and a store called The Game Exchange. His trip quickly changed him from someone looking for deals to someone looking for hidden treasure. This proves how strong he really was. Daryl Sheets. One of the first was Daryl Sheets, one of the stars of Storage Wars, and fans of the show know him for going all out and winning big at sales. It wasn't just a name that people called him the Gambler. He had earned it because he was willing to go all out or nothing. People liked him right away because he was willing to take big risks, even if it meant losing a lot of money in one bid. He wasn't loved just because he liked taking risks. People loved him because he was always positive. He always thought he could get the next room. Even though his time on the show was, well, famous, it came to an end. When Sheets was done with the show, he stepped away from the fame and attention. During this time, he chose to lose weight for good. Using the Nutri-System method, he lost an amazing 40 pounds. Daryl said something about his exercise journey. Hope has $200 to spend on a room, and a chance to make things better. Hope was the most important thing in his life, and it drove him to lose weight. He also said that reaching his goal would make life much better. He wanted other people to hear that word of hope. He thought the only way to be happy was to help someone get off the couch and change their life. Sheets had already made people happy by being on TV, but he also had a lot of love in his heart and wanted to help those who needed it the most by sharing happiness. It's too bad that Daryl had a heart attack in 2019 after losing all that weight. At that moment, Daryl told everyone that he was having major heart problems. The chest pains he was having while fishing led doctors to discover that he had congestive heart failure. He had such a bad heart attack that he needed heart surgery. No matter what happened, not even the heart attack, Daryl never changed how he felt. He stayed positive, and before the show's break, he even made a few cameos on Storage Wars. Even though Daryl fought for a long time, he was never able to get better. He had to leave the show for a while to take care of his health and family. Sad to say, Daryl died at home in March 2023, surrounded by close friends and family. Daryl taught me to go for it no matter what. He lived life as he was, fearlessly, wrote Jared Schultz, another group member. When you talk about Daryl Sheets, you have to include his son, Brandon Sheets. Brandon Sheets was a big part of the main group of Storage Wars for the first 8 seasons. Fans called him the side bet. That was not the only thing people knew about his father. He also helped younger buyers, like Brandon. Brooks wasn't just Daryl Sheets' son on the show. With his attitude and vibe, he was also a nice addition to the show. He made the show feel more young. The best thing about him was that he had his father's sharp eyes, but he was much more calm and collected. When Brandon Sheets' father was about to spend a lot of money on a box that wasn't really worth it, he would sometimes speak up and talk his dad out of it. This is exactly why their relationship as father and son worked so well. Daryl went the extra mile, while Brandon was a bit more practical. Because of a lack of money, Brandon Sheets quit the show in 2016 when the group had to be trimmed down. Brandon chose to move to Arizona after leaving the show. He seemed to have left the world of auctioneering and begun a new journey as a real estate agent after that. Brandon kept his mind on his latest adventures and stayed away from the attention he used to get. Things were not so good for Sheets, though. He was having trouble with personal issues, especially health and money problems, according to people who knew him well. Brandon was in a terrible car crash in June 2024, but amazingly, he only got a few minor injuries. Even though bad things happened, Brandon never let the fact that he had to leave Storage Wars get to him. He has been busy with his job as a sales agent and logistics expert for a real estate company since he moved his family from California to Arizona. Based on his LinkedIn page, he seems just as silly now as he did on the show. He quit the show a while ago, but he never stopped, trying to make his fans laugh. In 2019, he wrote a bunch of Facebook posts that looked like they were from MTV's Cribs. This time, the posts were about his life in a middle-class area. Brandon Sheets is living a new life. Now that he's not on Storage Wars, his life is changed. Even though it's not the same, it's still very satisfying. Hi, Barry Weiss. One of the most interesting people on Storage Wars was Barry Weiss. Because he bids in an unusual way, he became well known among watchers and Storage Wars fans and is known as the Collector. Many people hunt for money, but Weiss hunted just for fun. His style was very different. He dressed well, drove old cars, and even had a strange sense of humor. He gave the show a unique vibe, and fans loved that he would buy boxes for their odd parts and potential to be sold again. This is what made people call him the Collector. Weiss left Storage Wars in 2015. Too bad, because she had been in the main group for 4 seasons. He had a spin-off show called Buried Treasure after he left the show. It ran for Barry went cross-country trophy hunting in 8 shows. The spin-off show lost its way, so Weiss got another one called Storage Wars. Barry Strikes Back. This time, he and his Storage Wars co-star Kenny Crossley talked about their best scenes and shared behind-the-scenes footage. Unfortunately, things took a very bad turn in 2019 when Barry was in a very bad motorcycle accident. Because of this, he broke several bones and had to spend months healing. He eventually got better, and he even started a new job at the same time. Barry's life was getting better. As of now, he was the face of Sherwood Valley Casino, the job he got while he was getting better. Even after everything that had happened, he continued to do well. Barry did voiceover work for Northern California casinos because the job went so well. After Barry was taken to the hospital for his motorcycle accident in April 2019, there were reports that he had died. Those reports were not true at all, which is good news for all Barry fans, and Barry had been in the hospital for 2 months to get better. Before Barry worked on Storage Wars, he and his brother ran a business where they sold fresh food to other stores. After he left Storage Wars, he knew he wanted to make shows about bikes, which were important to him. Barry stays busy when he's not at work by taking care of his grandson, Jack. Ivy Calvin. Ivy Calvin, a retired football player and mixed martial arts fighter, brought his intensely competitive and high-energy attitude to Storage Wars. He joined the main cast in Season 5 after being a guest star for 2 seasons. Fans of the show called Ivy Calvin the King of Palmdale, even though he was called the King on the ring. He joined for real.